Hello, everyone. My name is David Reed. Welcome to another episode of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. This is episode 285. I am privileged to bring Roger Cross to you today. He played Connor, originally Lieutenant, I believe, and then later Captain Connor in seasons 1 and 2 of Stargate SG-1. Roger Cross, sir, welcome to Dial the Gate. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm delighted to have you, sir. I always love getting to chat with the folks who were there early on. I mean, granted we're reaching way back, and I understand, but this show has lasted for all of us the years since its ending with season 10 SG-1, then Atlantis and Universe. Were you surprised when you got the call from me to invite you on, or is it like, yeah, I can see how that thing's lasted as long as it has in fandom?
You know, I know it's lasted, but I mean, I didn't know you guys still did a talk show, so I was kind of a little bit, but I'm like, but it speaks to the power of the show. It was a great show. I mean, starting from the movie, you know, I mean, I remember watching that movie and just blowing my mind. And then when the show came along, it was like, okay.
It's 30 tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. That means I'm old too then.
Did you see it in the theater?
The movie?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see the movie. I think I was still the movie. Oh no, did I see it? I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it shortly thereafter.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it for years. And
Really?
I didn't see Stargate until SG-1 premiered. And then I went back and saw the movie, and it's like, oh, now I get it. So,
Oh, you hadn't seen the movie?
nope.
Oh, geez, yeah.
You were born in Jamaica
Yep,
and settled in Vancouver with your folks.
with my folks in Vancouver. Yeah, when I was 10.
So the first 10 years of your life in Jamaica.
Yes.
I loved visiting a few years ago. It was a beautiful country with beautiful people. Can you tell me about your experience there and moving to Canada, and how all of that shaped your life and where acting fits in?
You know, I love, it's a beautiful, as you said, beautiful country, beautiful people. You know, people hear about sometimes the rougher areas, and we have the rough areas like in Kingston and Spanish Town where, you know, especially during election time, don't go there.
Well, sure. Well, so do we here. So that's
Yeah,
fair.
that's true. And stuff, but no, it's a beautiful place. And I think I was blessed to grow up there. You know, our motto in Jamaica is out of many, one people. And so I grew up with all kinds of different people. We had Chinese people in our school, you know, East Indian people in our school, blacks, white, German. We have a German town there. I don't know if you know that
I
even.
did not.
Yeah, and so it's a melting pot in a lot of ways. And then so for me it was just, you know, we loved going. I grew up in the country area as well, to Manchester, and so it was more, you know, rural and call it country, if you will, but you know, it's what it was, just a simpler life in a lot of ways. And then moving to Vancouver, which is also another melting pot, we moved there with my whole family. So it was more of an exciting adventure for us to go, oh my goodness, okay, we got to check out a new place. And so I was lucky to go from one place that was melting pot to another place that's a bit of a more of a melting pot. And so I maybe call it sheltered or spoiled, if you will. It wasn't until later on, you know, where I spent some time in the US, a different place where I go, oh, there's some rougher,
Yeah.
not so nice people around that, you know, are frankly, you know, racist or this and that. I never had to experience it when I was young, thankfully. And so, you know, I'm thankful for that part of my life and, you know, how I was brought up. And I think it shaped how I view life and how I view and treat people.
So no culture shock around, 10, 12 years old. No, it was like, wow, this is like some aspect of it that I wouldn't even consider. Like, this is different. This is something that's going to get used to.
Oh no, it was definitely different, but I think it was because I said there's 5 of us kids and our parents, so
Big family.
it wasn't it was an adventure for us, right? Especially with my 2 brothers who were a bit, you know, crazier, and so it was. And then, you know, the first neighborhood we moved in, like the second day we're there, the neighborhood kids came by, going, yeah, I guess their parents sent them over. Go get these kids to go play soccer. So you guys want to come play football? So we
Right.
like, okay. So we go up to the field to play football, and then they showed us this weird ball, and we're like, that's not football. Yeah, because football's what you call soccer. And so we were like, and so we had to learn how to play football and learn how to play. You know what I mean? Because we were like, it's a small rugby ball, is what we thought at first.
Exactly right. Little differences like that.
Yeah, and so but it was exciting. I mean, and then winter came and we experienced snow for the first time, which was kind of wild. And I think we were like, my younger brother and I shared a room. We were in bed, and my older brother came running in, probably be like 5 o'clock in the morning, going, "It's snowing outside." So we were like, "Whoa!" Tore outside to go be the first one to touch snow of us and that sort of thing. So
Snow is magic for me. I will never, I mean, I don't like driving on the ice, fine,
yeah.
but there is something about being out there in the stillness when it's falling and
That's true.
just hearing the wind or nothing. There is
Yeah.
something, I can only imagine what that must have been like being relatively older for getting into snow for the first time in an experience
first
where it's
time.
like, you're not teeny tiny.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was wild, man. And then, of course, we went on later on to learn how to ski and things like that. So it was like, it's kind of wild and and stuff. But as I said, it was more exciting and more, okay, a new adventure for us in a sense. And so and I guess you're right. Maybe that did shape how I view my career in acting because I mean, originally, I don't know if you know, I was a commercial pilot, and that was my original path.
Did not. Okay,
In
I was going
life.
to ask that. So
Yeah,
that's what you
and-
wanted to do originally.
Yeah, and I did. I got my degree in aviation business and all that sort of thing. And so trying new things, I guess, is something I enjoy doing and, being brave and doing it because, I hate regrets. And I've learned that, when you see some of the more, we'll say, angrier people in life are the people who regret not trying things. So I'd rather try it and quote unquote fail, but yeah, I tried it and I'm like, okay, it wasn't for me or it was for me. And no, so I like that.
One of my favorite quotes from television, there's nothing sadder than a missed opportunity. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of that because in the moment it's like, do I have a chance to do something here?
Yeah,
The worst that's going to happen is I'm going to give myself a story that I could tell for the rest of my life.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the worst that can happen.
Well, you could die, depending
You
on what
could
it
die,
is.
but you also learn.
That's right. All right. So commercial aviation.
Yes.
Like passenger jets or like
I didn't get to the jets, but I did some like prop little small flights and did some charters and before I even really launched into that, this weird acting thing started with some stunts actually and things like that.
So let me back up here. Tell me about the transition. How old are you when you start getting into this? And what prompted this?
Well, okay, I enjoyed theater through school.
Okay.
Never considered it a career. Okay. Not once. I was at the time a straight A student, kid from Jamaica. You're supposed to get these kind of jobs. You're supposed to do this, do that. And then, everyone thought it was gonna be lawyer, doctor, all these different things that they had planned for me and stuff.
Of course.
But then, it was interesting because remember the first time I got on a plane was coming to Canada. And well, back then they let kids go in the cockpit and check it out and they got your little wings. And I remember just being fascinated by it and thought, this could be something fun one day. So when it came time to think about it, as I looked into it, goes, I'd really like to try aviation, try being a pilot. And so I looked into the schools that you could go to and things like that and how you go about it. And to appease everyone as well, I was like, if I go into Trinity Western University, they have an aviation program, so I can get my degree at the same time as I'm doing that. And so that was my sales pitch to my parents. And so, it was. Yeah.
So when did you start getting into stunts?
Okay. I did martial arts growing up.
Okay.
And so
you're fluid with your body or fluent with your body and aware of how it works and everything else. Okay.
Yeah, and so we, during some spare time, these guys would say, "Oh, you want to do some work on?" Okay, I'm going to date myself. 21 Jump Street.
Okay.
And
Deloise.
so, You know what I mean? So I got introduced to John Wardlow at the time, and he's like, okay, you used to do martial arts, you want to do some stunt work? So I'm like, okay, jumped in there, and my first thing was like, the scene where I was beating up Peter DeLuise, who's now was obviously directed, and
Absolutely.
familiar with Peter, I'm sure. And yeah, so that was my first real taste of it. And so it was something that I dabbled in, and of course I'm a pilot, so I'm going back to that. But it wasn't until that started happening a little bit. I graduated from university, Trinity Western, and trying to get the flying job. Occasionally doing charter flights when they would bring me in. I was working on the tarmac, Skylink Airlines, just hustling, trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And then I did this, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And so in my spare time, I went to Breck Academy and studied acting there just for to do it. And then a while into it, a friend of mine, it's the funniest story, I know it's been told a million times. A buddy of mine, Danny Watley, was like, hey, there's this audition for this movie that's gonna go shoot in China. Like, I'm gonna go to it. You want to come with me? So I'm like, okay. So I went along, auditioned for this thing, and then they called me back for it, and I'm like, okay. And so I called him and go, hey, they called me back for this movie that's gonna go over to China and film over there. And he's like, no, he was already a professional actor. He's like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Right. And I'm like, would you care if I went for it? And he's like, go for it, man. And for me at the time, I'm like, I can get a free trip out of it. It's more what
Here's an opportunity.
To go see a different part of the world and things like that. Long story short, I get this movie. And so I go to China to go shoot, international rescue. And, that with so many different things. We went to like 14 locations. We went into Vietnam, went to Burma, went all over the place. I went into southern China where, they hadn't seen tourists since World War II kind of thing. And so it was quite the experience. And it was a beautiful thing too, because got to work out with like the top Kung Fu team in the world, and that sort of thing. And train with these guys was mind blowing. And, it's humbling at the same time. And while there, I had it's so fun. Do this World War II movie. Explosions everywhere, all kinds of craziness going on. Fine, no problem. Day off, we go to this temple and we're finding our Buddha and all these different things we're doing. And someone goes, oh, Sifu, our Kung Fu master, wants to talk to you. So I'm like, okay. But instead of going across the bridge like normal folks would, us, hot shots, jumping on these rocks across this river. I hit a moss-covered rock. I'm in the river. I'm going downstream, but I'm like swimming and grabbing onto this thing, and they think I'm running down, and they grab me. We're laughing, and they pull me out. And I'm like, okay, and we're making jokes about it. And a little while later, we walked around, and we ended up on the opposite side. And Ray, one of my co-stars, was like, "Hey, Roger, isn't that the tree we pulled you out beside?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Look at it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Look." And if I hadn't grabbed that rock, there was nothing to stop before like this 400-foot waterfall. I was gonna, and so it was like, whoa, it could have been gone like that. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those moments in life where like, okay,
you take a breath
don't regret.
You take a breath and you think. It's like, had that not been, I might not still be.
Yeah, and it didn't really hit me until like I woke up in the middle of the night at one point. Like, oh my god, yeah, it could have been over. Because at the time we were laughing about it, but it's kind of like, oh, it really could have been. And literally 2 days later, I'm doing my death scene in the movie, and there's the whole thing about letting your character take life, and all that. Tears are flowing down my face, and all this, and just having this really powerful moment for me. And I'm like, okay. And the movie, of course, went like a month over, ruined all our plans, all that sort of thing. That I was supposed to come back for a flying job that I thought that I was going to get all that. And these guys got like, oh, what are you going to do when you get back? And I'm like, I like this acting thing. I need to give it a year. I need to give it a try. And if it works, great. If not, back to my flying and blah, blah, blah.
We're not going to stop flying.
We're not going to stop flying.
Someone's going to need to do it.
You know what I mean? And so I gave it a year, and just there you go. Here I am.
Wow. How did that lead to Stargate. Do you remember anything about your audition for Stargate? Your first episode was the First Commandment.
Yeah.
Which, according to Robert C. Cooper, who wrote the episode, it was the Stargate's Apocalypse Now episode. It's kind of how they looked into it. You're in this quarry, you're tied up, kill me. It's like, really? I'm here to rescue you. What do you remember about Stargate and about this episode?
Well, okay. So I had actually read for Teal'c. Actually,
You
for
did.
Chris, I did.
Tell me
I read
about
for
that.
Teal'c. You're right. I did. And Chris and I have became friends and all that. I became friends with all those guys and stuff. So I did. And so they were familiar with me. And so that's how they're like, oh, well, we have this great character in it. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Because I loved it. But I fully understood. I mean, he suited that so much better. He's like a bigger guy. And, he just looked more like a Teal'c. He did. So it was like, okay. So they were familiar with me, and I was familiar with them, and we, they were like, oh, we loved what you did with it, and so they're like, you want to do this? I was like, sure, and it was just, I said, because, they were already familiar with my work, and I enjoyed the show, and went there. It was just easy, and of course, coming back, they're like, oh, okay, and then he gets promoted in a little bit too, which is kind of fun. And just working with all those guys, it was great experience, because I think one of the things that we've lost sometimes, and I see it, is that the craft and the artistry nowadays sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, because it's more about the bills and paying the thing, and just we have to meet a certain deadline and this and that. Now, you still had it then, but I think they allowed more room to play and create in a lot of sense. And so it was fun, man. It was a great experience.
The creativity behind that show, the folks who brought it to life, 17 seasons is so rare for television to have the same group of people. What do you think the alchemy is that kept it on for that long? Or do you think it's just that the product speaks for itself in terms of the ideas that it wants to tell? Or do you think it's a number of different things?
I think it's a number of different things. Okay. And I think it's also, it speaks to the quality of the writers, and that people liked being there and liked doing it. Because so many shows, and I've been part of shows that have fallen apart because this producer can't get along with this person at the network, or these actors starts fighting with that actor. The shows have fallen apart because people can't get along and don't appreciate what they have. And so, these guys loved what they were doing. The actors were like happy to be there, and they were like, okay, so they kept doing it, kept writing it. Most of the time, as most sci-fi shows, let's be frank, like they only 4 or 5 years, and some of them,
if they're lucky,
even Star Trek was like one season, or 2 seasons, whatever.
3 seasons for the original, and it barely got it,
and barely got it right, and it's so Firefly, a great show, but it's so for in the world of sci-fi to keep coming up with these stories and things. It's not easy, and to keep the audience engaged. And this is a testament to it, 30 years later or whatever, people are still really passionate about it because they told a great story. And I think because you could go through the Stargate into this endless realm of possibilities, I think that's what people really love, being able to, go into different worlds and explore and stay true still to the mythology of it, but you still have the freedom to create new characters and create these new experiences that they were able to see.
But also recognize that there's a continuity developing over the course of the show, which is one of the reasons I'm sure that they brought you back for season 2. There's only in the universe, there's only a limited number of people who are operating on this base, and your character grew into a captain in the second season. You're commanding your own unit, SG-11. What was it like coming back?
It was great, because it was like coming home. And I said at this point too, on like the personal side, I'd gotten to know like Shanks, Judge, and I were hanging out and stuff. And at the time I was on a different show, First Wave, and so I was doing that. And then so it was great to come over here with these guys and play in their world, and then go back to my world. And so it was like I said, coming home. Everyone was comfortable and they were open to, oh, what do you want to do with this? And we can talk a little bit and figure it out. And it was great.
That's wild. That episode had a lot of visual effects with
Yeah.
a lot of people being taken away
Taken-
and
yeah.
wolves and all kinds of things going on. Do you remember anything about that particular shoot?
Well, here's the thing too. Like that's sometimes when these things are happening, you have to pretend, obviously, because people aren't really going away. So dealing with that level of effects and things, you have to really, imagine it's happening over here. But that's what's great about having a good guide, a good director who can, say, this is what's happening here. Do this. All right, I need you to do this. Little bit bigger on certain things, smaller on certain things. It just guide you through it. And so
Martin Wood directed that episode.
Yeah, oh yes,
Yeah.
Martin. I've gone on to work with. It's so funny because even Joe Malazzi, who ended up doing SG-1 and things, I ended up doing Dark Matter with him
Yes.
for 3 years. All this, so I've crossed paths with everyone from that world over and over again, and it's awesome.
I think that when you really connect with someone on a professional and personal level, they are in your orbit, especially when you're like folks like Joseph Malazzi, Martin Wood. When something comes up later on, it's like, I know a person who would work with that. Let's bring them in and give them a shot.
Yeah.
And I think that it creates its own self-fulfilling prophecy of if I know someone who can do the job, why not bring them in and see if, the material,
Yeah.
if I'm right on the material.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love working with those guys. And I said, all these, decades later, still, it was Joel's birthday 2 weeks ago.
Right? Yes, it was.
Right. And so we still talk to each other and things. And so, yeah, it's great.
I have some fan questions for you.
Oh, okay.
Tracy actually brought up Dark Matter. I thought your character of Six was fantastic, but I thought you were wonderful in one of my other favorite series, The Strain, as Reggie as well. Can you share a quick story about working on The Strain?
On The Strain. Oh my goodness.
I know we're really pushing you here. It's
awesome. It's awesome. No, I loved The Strain. I mean, Guillermo del Toro is a genius, and to get to work with that man, the first day it was kind of like, okay, I'm working with Guillermo del Toro, but he is so down to earth and so amazing. And I said, talk about a creative mind, and it's great to work. Going back to it, that someone that doesn't forget that it's an art, and we're trying to capture that art on film and give the actors room to breathe. So myself and oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now, but we called ourselves basically, we had our pod that we worked with because he was my boss, and we had to, we loved being able to. We were filming in Toronto, first off.
Okay.
And we started in, I believe, December. We started the first episode. And so, I don't know if you're familiar, it gets really cold out there.
Yes.
Right? And so, I remember some of those nights, all the vampires and everyone else there have all these crazy outdoor thing in the middle of it. And here we are in this beautiful penthouse because we never had to leave. Actually, in the first season I did. In the second season I did. But the first season we were in this beautiful penthouse doing our scenes all because everyone had to come to us. And so I was so thankful to not having to be out in the elements. And so
It can really beat you up.
it can beat you up because I had to definitely be in the elements there. And when we did Dark Matter out there, we had to be in the elements. And it's great. But honestly, I loved working on The Strain, and it was just, Guillermo was brilliant. So
He is a creative genius. Have you seen Pinocchio?
I've not seen Pinocchio.
It's on Netflix. It's so good.
I need to watch it.
It's a beautiful piece of art, and it leaves you thinking about it afterwards. I love art that does that.
Yeah. Definitely,
So
definitely. And I mean, he's done that in, like, in all his movies. And so, yeah, I have not watched Pinocchio's yet. So shame on me, but
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony said you've got a huge amount of credits. But he's curious in all of your different genres. What has been your favorite genre to work in?
My favorite genre to work in. I mean, honestly, I love the world of sci-fi because of all the possibilities. Yeah, I'll be frank. For me, it's all about if you have a great character. It doesn't matter the genre. If I have a great character, I love that. But I do love the sci-fi world because of the endless possibilities, and in a sense, maybe I'm a bit, I'm a bit kumbaya-ish and stuff,
Yeah.
but I love that we can get past color and race and that sort of thing, and now we're dealing with bigger issues than those very limited things that seem to, detract from harmony in this world right now.
I
And so
think
it's
transcending
I
our
love
problems is a good thing to see represented on television.
Yeah,
You know?
you know what I mean? And so I do love that, and then the possibilities of it. But I'm more of a, like, give me a great character. It doesn't matter the genre. I want to do it. But if I had to pick one, I would probably pick sci-fi.
Wow.
Sci-fi adventure, yeah.
Lockwatcher says you were one of 309 actors killed off by Jack Bauer. How? Tell us a little bit about Curtis Manning, and was working on this series as intense as it looked on screen.
Yes, it was. It was incredible. I mean, especially like season 5 really kicked it up a notch.
Yeah.
I remember sometimes just getting those scripts and going, "Oh, I get to do that." That's kind of great, right? I didn't rappel out. I didn't free rope out of the helicopter. That was a double, but
That would have kind of fit in. Hey, I'm a pilot. I got this.
oh, but you know what I mean? Oh, I've done that. Yeah, I've gotten to, right, done to fly. I've gotten, yeah, that's been a lot of fun. But 24 was a hell of an experience, man. It was one of those great shows that, it only comes along once in
Unique.
it's a unique show.
Yeah,
It was
in terms of its
well written.
configuration. Yeah.
Yeah, well done. And I mean, yeah, I remember even like we got the military to agree to come and do some of that stuff that you saw like in the desert with the helicopter coming up on. And I remember getting out there and there's all these guts around and going, wow, this is insane. But it was intense, but it was great. I loved working on that show.
Does a project like that encourage you to raise your A game a little bit more than you might ordinarily when you're seeing a group of people who are, I suffer often from imposter syndrome. It's like, okay, I really have to,
Step up.
feel that I need to step up. Does working with certain people like Del Toro or like Kiefer Sutherland do that when you see a certain professional, or is it always you go 150% all the time?
I give it all I got,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Even if it's a small roles back in the day, I believe that once I accept it, I give it my all, and I do the best I can. Of course, when you're on a bigger show and you meet someone like that, when you are working with some of the bigger people, I did a movie like Sharon Stone playing her husband in the thing. The first time you meet some people like that, you're like, okay, you got to work with Roger Moore. The first time you meet certain people, you're like, wow, this is kind of cool. But then, okay, I got to put that aside. Now I got to do my work.
That's time to work.
For me, because all of that's great, but now I got to lock in, and do my thing. And, when I was the movie with Mad Money, Diane Keaton and Ted Danson, all these people that I'm working with, and you're like, this is great, but okay, put that aside. Now we're into this character. And so I guess in a sense, it probably subconsciously, definitely you're like, boom. But you wouldn't be there if you wouldn't be there if you didn't qualify. Because, obviously I had to audition and work for these things. And so, you belong. So you just have to do your job.
That's a great point. You belong because you've already been selected. So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. SV said you did an episode of The Outer Limits produced by Brad Wright and Jonathan Glassner. How did that differ, if you recall any specifics from that, from working with them on Stargate? Obviously, also shot at Bridge. I got a pretty high production value.
Yeah.
Any
I did.
notes from Outer
I believe
Limits?
I did like 3 different Outer Limits.
Okay, they're
I
all
did 3
different.
Yeah, all very different
Yeah.
because it's anthologies, and so you did. I was all different characters. No, it was great working. Once again, it's that whole thing. We knew each other from there, so when you go back and work together, they know what to expect from you. You know what to expect from them. I just have to show up and deliver.
Right.
And that's what it is. Actually, the first one I did, I believe, Rebecca De Mornay was that one, and she directed it. It was her directorial debut.
I remember this episode. This is the episode of the guy swapping bodies.
Yes.
Right? And she has a cameo in that episode.
Yes, and she directed it.
Not every episode, goes the way that you think you will. I remember getting to the end of that because that's an episode about redemption and about forgiveness. And that's why I love sci-fi, because you never know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
Especially in the Outer Limits or Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, yeah, all of them. It's like I love that. I used to watch that as a kid. You know what I mean? It's like I love it.
Have you seen Jordan Peele's new Twilight Zone?
I have.
It's good.
Yeah. It's good. A little darker. It's good.
Absolutely. No, I like that they dial things up a little bit. It doesn't have to be.
They had to.
Yeah, absolutely. The things that you can do in camera now and with stories are more intense. So
definitely.
and to stay socially relevant, also you have to be willing to to go there, and they do.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Misadventures of a Little Wolf. What was your favorite thing about playing Travis in Continuum? Continuum's a show I've not seen.
Oh, that's an awesome show. You should check it out.
Time travel?
It is time travel,
Okay.
but what's the relevance of that show is first you meet these people and they're the rebels and being hunted by the law, but then you realize they're actually freedom fighters. And one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist in a sense, in some way.
Depending on what they're doing.
You know what I mean? And so they were actually fighting for the freedom of the people to be able to express themselves, because at this point in the future, the government controlled everything. Wow. And what you did, and Simon Barry, who created it, he's a genius. He's great, and he's one of those guys that kind of. Remember, we did this episode where they had these watches that they gave people that monitored your heart rate, monitored the different things and all that. But and this is, I said, way 15 years ago or whatever it was, 16 years ago. And what they did with it is that's okay. We'll give them to people. Everyone has them. But what people didn't realize is that they could use it to crank up people's adrenaline or calm people down if there is the mass crowd that's getting out of control and that sort of thing.
Population control.
Yes. And so you cut to now and everyone has not saying they do this, but their Apple Watches and everything else like that monitors everything you do and tells you when to walk, when to get up, when to sit down.
Facebook has admitted to running an illegal social experiment where they provided information on screen that would make either people happier or make them more depressed.
Yep.
They admitted to this a few years ago, and everyone was like, wow, it's been, and they had quantifiable, data showing that they were able to actually do that to people. We are so influenceable by that which we eat, that which we take in anything that we consume. And I think that especially now with AI and kicking things in and starting to tweak us just a little bit, even if it's 51% in one direction or another, I think we all should be reasonably wary.
Yes, we should be. I mean, if you look at all our kids, I have 2 boys, and you look at the kids in our TikTok, how they use that to influence a lot of people's behavior and their social norms are all getting. I mean, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist or anything. No. It's just
shortening our attention span.
Yes,
a lot of that, and that alone really terrifies me. Our inability to sit still.
Yes. It's true. How many times are you watching a show now and half the time you're on your phone when you're not?
Yeah, someone's communicating with me right now. I must answer. No, it's like, can they wait a little bit? Or I'm spending time with someone. How important is the person that I'm with? So, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. So I loved Travis Verta as one of my favorite characters. Wow. Continuum is also one of my favorite shows that I've ever worked on because we had a great group of people, and I said, these people looked at as, angry people, like they were actually fighting for the right side of the law.
Yeah.
And the people who we thought were the good guys, they were actually on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah.
So we all go on this great journey. And even Travis, he's very militant. He's a super soldier. He comes in, kicks butt, whatever. He even goes through the growth of learning that, maybe I don't have to be as violent or that's crazy. When you see it, you'll see what I mean. He's a bad mama jamma, we'll say that. But he comes in and he will, when Travis shows up, things are going down.
I love entertainment that defies our expectations in the way where we're locked into, okay, narratively, there are only a certain number of configurations where we are pre-programmed to expect content in certain ways.
Yeah.
And when it is flipped on its head and light is dark and right is wrong, and it's like, oh, this piece of information has unfolded that I didn't consider.
Yeah.
These things happening the way they are. What if I am wrong in my assumptions on this? And if I'm wrong in my assumptions on this, what else could I be wrong about that I need to reassess? Yes. That's what I love about sci-fi, opening the mind.
Open your mind and allow yourself to consider other possibilities, other perspective on things. And, and as I say, like with a lot of people say like, well, I haven't done anything wrong, so I have nothing to worry about. It's kind of like, it's true. But if someone decides to manipulate that and use it for their own good, yeah. So love Travis.
Could you see yourself going back to flying full time one day? My father flew for 40 years, so I'm always curious. He flew helicopters in Vietnam and retired in 2013, and he's never been the same ever since. He misses it so much.
It's honestly, I love going up, and I totally could. I even considered it a few years back. I'm like, maybe I'll just take a break and go back to my flying for a while and stuff. But then now the show came up and I did it. But
right, and it's school. You have to update yourself on everything that's new.
You have to stay current, and you have to, and as you get older too, you have to. There's more currency checks that you have to go through and stuff. Exactly. So it's not, it's not as simple as that. But I know I love what I do. I love the craft of acting. I'm glad I went on the journey. I love flying, but I'm glad I took the path that I did. And so no, I don't see myself ever going back to that full time, but it's something that maybe when I decide, I might retire and get a little plane and go island hop in Jamaica or something. Who knows?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's good that you know what you want. So that's awesome. And raising boys. So that's no easy task as well. Marsha Middleton, is that a Dodgers jersey you are wearing?
Of course, Marsha.
I'm a longtime New York Mets fan, so that hurts.
I'm sorry, but
Mets, the Mets and Dodgers did have a good NLCS. Have you been able to go to any games?
I did. I did. I went to that game. I did not get to go to game 1 Friday night because actually it was in Vancouver and I flew down Friday, so I wasn't able to go, but I actually got an invite and I was like, I won't be able to make it. But I saw the end of that game and wow. I mean, we were at dinner with a friend. It was his birthday. So I got in, went to dinner, and we're sitting there. Of course, we have our phones sitting at the side right there watching the end of the game. And when he hit that home run, oh my God. I think we all jumped up and some of the people in the restaurant were going, what are they doing? You know what I mean?
It's not hockey, but we're having a good time.
We're having a good time. It was great. And so, listen, the Yankees are going home. I know they'll be heard from. And so I think I love it. And of course I want the Dodgers to win, but I want a game 7 would be MLB is so happy right now. They couldn't have asked for a better World Series between the two most storied franchises. It's epic.
It's Greek to most of the people in this chat, but that's I have to respect the passion for loving something that can go any way at any time. I love going to baseball games because most of the time I go to catch up with my friends, but there are microbursts of real action.
Exactly. That's what I say to people. I go, baseball, okay, it can be boring to just sit there and just watch it, but when you're there with everyone, you're interacting, you're having some
You're with
drinks,
each other.
you're having your Dodger dogs. I don't know. They have Yankee dogs. I don't know.
Diamondbacks dogs, D-dogs.
Do they? See, there
Yeah,
you go.
so
I guess
most of my
everyone
time
has their
in
version,
Phoenix. So yeah, exactly.
You know,
Roger, this has been terrific, and I really appreciate you coming on and exploring your career a little bit with us and sharing some memories from your production. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh man, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Absolutely. Be well, sir.
All right, you too.
That was Roger Cross, Captain Connor in Stargate SG-1. Really appreciate y'all tuning in today, and thanks so much to my moderating team, Tracy and Anthony and Marcia, for stopping in to make sure that everyone, y'all behave yourselves in the chat there. We come to you every week and bring you new Stargate content, and we're privileged to do so. If you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, click the like button. It does make a difference with the show and will help to continue to grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. I did have a question for me from a previous episode, Stargate Seed. Any ETA on the definitive Stargate timeline? I'm probably not going to release it this year. It's probably going to be a part of season 5. There's some financial consideration in here because I'm hiring actors to take part. So we want to give them a little bit of cash. And right now I'm kind of cash strapped. So it is coming. But I'm going to put it off until 2025 because I do want some of the Stargate cast to reprise. Well, not really reprise their roles, but do voiceovers. The demo that's already available on Dial the Gate includes Janice, Gildert Jackson, who played Janice. He did a little bit of that. So that's what we've got. That's what we've got going on for you here. I've got Stargate trivia heading your way in 15 minutes, hosted by Tom Macbeth. This is going to be Stargate feature film trivia. So hope you can join us at the top of the hour. My thanks to Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web. He keeps dialthegate.com up and running. My producer, Linda Gate Gabber Fury. All of my moderators, Tracy, Anthony, Jeremy, Marcia, Summer. Appreciate you guys for making the show possible. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I will see you on the other side.